Today, we will be talking about how to solve an equation for the unknown variable. Now, when solving an equation for the unknown variable, what we want to do is that we want to isolate all terms with the unknown variable to one side of the equation, generally the left side of the equal sign, and all terms with numbers only without any letter variables to the right side of the equal sign. And for cases such as problems number 2, 3, and 5 that contains brackets, what we want to do is that we want to multiply the items that are outside of the brackets into the items that are inside of the brackets in order to get rid of the brackets. And after that, what we want to do is that we want to isolate the terms with the unknown variable to one side of the equation, which is once again usually to the left side of the equation, and then gather like terms while putting all of the items that are only made up of numbers with no variable letters to the right side of the equal sign. So let's get started. So first up, we have 20x minus 3 plus 3x is equal to 11x plus 5 minus 8. So in this particular case, you can see that there are no brackets, but on both sides of the equal sign, we have the unknown variable letter x. So what we want to do is that in this particular case, we want to gather all the like terms. Specifically, what we're going to do is that we're going to move all terms with the variable letter x to the left side of the equal sign and all the numbers to the right side of the equal sign. So for problem number 1, we have 20x and positive 3x. So that's right here. And of course, what we want to do is that we want to move negative 3 from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, and move 11x from the right side of the equation to the left side of the equation. So moving positive 11x from the right side of the equation to the left side of the equation gives us negative 11x. And on the right side of the equal sign, we have positive 5 and negative 8. So we have positive 5 and negative 8. And because we're moving negative 3 from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, when something, recall from previous lessons that when something positive is moved from one side of the equation to the other side of the equation, it becomes negative. Likewise, when something negative is moved from one side of the equation to the other side of the equation, it becomes positive. So therefore, this becomes positive 3. And since there's no numbers before this term right here, I can erase the plus sign. Now, all we have to do is to gather like terms. So 20x plus 3x, that gives us 23x. 23x minus 11x gives us positive 12x. Now, 5 minus 8 gives us negative 3, and negative 3 plus 3 gives us 0. And so therefore, the only way for this equation right here to work out is for x to be equal to 0. Because anything times 0 gives us 0. So therefore, x equals 0 would be the final answer for problem number 1. Now let us solve problem number 2. For problem number 2, as you can see, not only do we have an unknown variable, specifically m, but we also have 2 sets of brackets. So the first step is to get rid of the brackets. So 5m, 5 times m gives us 5m. 5 times negative 2 gives us negative 10. Negative 3 times positive 2m, well, that gives us negative 6m. Negative 3 times positive 5, that gives us negative 15. Plus 15 is equal to 0. Now what we want to do is that we want to gather like terms. 5m minus 6m, that gives us negative m. Negative 10 minus 15, that gives us negative 25. Negative 25 plus 15, that gives us negative 10. All of this is equal to 0. I'm just going to erase this and write it closer to here. So this will be negative m minus 10. Now, all we have to do is to move the negative 10 from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation. So now, this right here it becomes negative m is equal to positive 10. Because we moved negative 10 from one side of the equation to the other side of the equation. And all we have to do is to multiply both sides of the equation by negative 1. So this side times negative 1, this side times negative 1 as well. So negative m times negative 1, that gives us positive m. Positive 10 times negative 1, that gives us negative 10. And so therefore, the solution for problem number 2, m is equal to negative 10. Now let us solve problem number 3. Just like problem number 2, problem number 3 has one unknown variable as well as 2 sets of brackets. So once again, the first step is to get rid of the brackets. 6 times positive 2, that gives us positive 12. Positive 6 times negative 3L, that gives us negative 18L. Minus 42. Is equal to negative 2 times positive L gives us negative 2L. Negative 2 times negative 1 gives us positive 2. Now what we want to do is that we want to move and place all of the terms with the unknown variable letter L to the left side of the equal sign. So negative 18L stays here. If we move negative 2L from the right side of the equal sign to the left side of the equal sign, that becomes positive 2L. Positive 2 stays right here on the right side of the equal sign. Positive 12, when moved from the left side to the right side of the equal sign, that becomes negative 12. And lastly, negative 42, when moved from the left side of the equal sign to the right side of the equal sign, this becomes positive 42. Now we want to gather and combine the like terms. So negative 18L plus 2L, that gives us negative 16L. 2 minus 12 gives us negative 10. Negative 10 plus 42 gives us positive 32. So now we have negative 16L is equal to 32. Now, in order to isolate L, what we want to do is that we want to divide both sides of the equation by negative 16. So the negative 16 and negative 16 cancels each other out. And we are left with L being equal to 32 divided by negative 16, and that gives us negative 2. And so therefore, for problem number 3, L is equal to negative 2. Now let us solve the fourth problem. For problem number 4, we have 2.6z minus 1.3 is equal to 0.9z plus 0.4. So what we want to do is that we want to move the 0.9z from the right side of the equation to the left side of the equation, and negative 1.3 from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation. So here we go. So on the left side of the equation, we have 2.6z, positive 0.9z when moved from the right side of the equal sign to the left side of the equal sign, that becomes negative 0.9 z. Here we have positive 0.4, that stays right here. Negative 1.3, when moved from the left side of the equal sign to the right side of the equal sign, this becomes positive 1.3. Now, 2.6z minus 0.9z, that is equal to 1.7z. 0.4 plus 1.3, that is equal to positive 1.7. And dividing both sides of the equation by positive 1.7, this will help us to isolate the variable letter z. So the 1.7 cancels each other out. That leaves us with z is equal to 1.7 divided by 1.7, and that gives us 1. And so therefore, for problem number 4, the variable letter z is equal to 1. Now let us solve problem number 5, the last and final problem. So for problem number 5, we have the unknown variable letter n, as well as 3 sets of brackets, right here, and right here. So the first step is to get rid of the brackets. So on the left side of the equal sign, we have positive 8 right here. Positive 4 times positive n gives us positive 4n. Positive 4 times negative 1 gives us negative 4. Negative 5 times positive n gives us negative 5n. Negative 5 times negative 3 gives us positive 15. Is equal to positive 2 times positive 5 gives us positive 10. Positive 2 times negative 2n, that gives us negative 4n. Now what we want to do is that we want to move all of the terms that contains the unknown variable letter n to the left side of the equal sign, and all of the terms that does not contain any variable letters, specifically only numbers, to the right side of the equal sign. So therefore, on the left side of the equation, we have positive 4n, we have negative 5n, and lastly, when moving negative 4n from the right side of the equal sign to the left side of the equal sign, this becomes positive 4n. This is equal to, so the positive 10 stays here. Positive 8, when moved from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, becomes negative 8. Negative 4, when moved from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, this becomes positive 4. And lastly, positive 15, when moved from the left side of the equation to the right side of the equation, this becomes negative 15. Now all we have to do is to gather and combine like terms. Positive 4n minus 5n, that gives us negative n. Negative n plus 4n, that gives us positive 3n. This is equal to, well, 10 minus 8, that gives us positive 2. Positive 2 plus 4, that gives us positive 6. And positive 6 minus 15, that gives us negative 9. So now what we have is that we have 3n is equal to negative 9. So I'm going to write it higher to give it more space for our next step. So 3n is equal to negative 9. Now, in order to isolate the unknown variable n, now we have to do is to divide both sides of the equation by positive 3. So I'm going to lower the equal sign a little bit. Now, at this point, the 3 and the 3 cancels each other out, which we are left with n being equal to negative 9 divided by positive 3, and negative 9 divided by positive 3, that gives us negative 3. And so therefore, for problem number 5, the unknown variable letter n is equal to negative 3. And this is how to solve an equation for the unknown variable.